right. Well, we got a real treat today. Special guest Tim Gilbert from Georgia Revolution FC here on the Set Pieces podcast for ASMG. We're sponsored by Images Frozen in Time. And Tim, I want to welcome you to the podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic too. Great to talk to you. I know we've talked before a little bit about the game and the importance of this level in the UPSL. But before we get into a little bit of the subject matter of that nature, I'd like to get a little personal background on yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the game and what your goals were when you came on with the Revs?
So I got started in soccer many moons ago as a kid, and I was a pretty good player in my little area. Again, we're talking early 80s. Club soccer was not what it is today. It wasn't as organized as this. Worked my way up, playing on good teams and winning games. And I did go on to receive a couple of small college scholarship offers. Was not really what I was looking to do. At that point, I was more into music and wanted to chase my musician dream through college. Wound up going to Georgia Southern, played club soccer there. We didn't have a coach, and I was the only one who really understood how to structure things. And that was probably my first experience at coaching, being a freshman at college when all the players asked me to start coaching. And then life took me a completely different direction for quite some time. It was a little better than 2 decades before I got back into the sport, and we started what would become a local soccer club out here called Lake Country United FC, which I got introduced early in the process. I think in 2016 and 17, became very close with the Revs. And when they were just playing over in the Conyers area, over at the Risa Fields at that point, clicked with Alec Morrison and his dad, Eric, right off the bat. Within a year, we had become an affiliate of theirs. I was regularly bringing my top players over to train with their players, with their coaches. And I was starting to really milk some of these coaches that were more experienced than me, even though they were younger than me. They had better credentials than I did. I was starting to learn from them. And that continued for a couple of years. And then in 2022, Alec and I began to talk about what it might look like if we did more together with Lake Country and the Revs. And by 2023, they'd hired me to start coaching their second adult team. And little by little, my responsibilities grew. And now I wear a lot of hats with the Revs, including coaching the top U19 team, the top U16 boys team, assistant coach of the UPSL team that competes in the Premier Division. I help out with the second team, our U23s. And I'm also, just as of last week, I was, I guess you could say, promoted to director of recruiting. Director of recruiting is the title they gave me. And so I'm responsible now for helping our players continue their journey to the next level, whatever that is, whether that's collegiately or whether that's having pro opportunities. That's now what I'm doing, as well as recruiting players to come to the Revs, wherever they might be from around the world or locally, whether at youth or whether at adult. Helping players, introducing players to our platform that we give them that can help take their game to the next level.
Yeah, well, that really leads me to my next question because you've been involved with your son and his development. You've seen the importance of the development of other uh, you know uh, players who are trying to get to that next level. What do you see as the biggest challenge for players, particularly in the United States, to getting to that next level? What do you think is the biggest thing that they have to overcome?
Wow. There's So that's a great question. I mean, that really is, but there's probably many answers. The number one is what we just talked about a second ago, and that's getting through yourself. Most players' limitations are limited by their limitations, by what they impose on themselves. And that usually starts with what's going on between the ears more than anything else. Of course, they do have to go work, they have to become more technical. And yes, I think there's probably, especially at the younger ages in coaching, I think there's too much emphasis on you have to win at all cost, and you got parents screaming and wanting to fight opposing teams' parents when their kids are 9 years old on a soccer field because the game is 3-2, or a referee that's 14 years old didn't make the call that they thought he should have. And of course, that ref must be biased and against my little 8-year-old child. That is crazy. We really need to be focused more on the technical component. And it's funny, I always talk about trying to get, encouraging kids to just explore with the ball at their feet, express themselves with the ball at their feet. If a kid can fall in love with the ball at their feet, man, so many challenges in their life are going to be a little easier to navigate. They're going to probably make better choices. They might make better life choices. They might not be as tempted to get involved in things that are going to take them down wrong paths just because they're able to do things with that ball at their feet that start giving them confidence and a belief that they can actually do something special. So I think that it starts probably with our focus in this country too much on just the winning no matter what at any cost, instead of learning how to first off navigate a ball at your feet and be able to do things with that ball that are amazing. And every kid's capable of doing that if they'll just work at that. So that's the starting point. The other challenge is, of course, our entire motivations. And, we can ever, one day, maybe that's a whole nother talk over a beer, is that the pay to play model I'm no
Oh,
fan of.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think other countries do it better. I've got ideas that I think could work, and I've shared this with lots of people on how this could work using the schools and getting soccer through the schools and having levels of play in the schools from the youngest ages and being able to bring in the best coaches to coach from a community. And again, we could get into all that, but we don't do it that way in this country. Instead, we've got clubs where the top 8 guys in the club are making over 150 grand a year. And it's like, wow, is that what this is about? And unfortunately, it is. I mean, state of play, you go to tournaments, kids have to pay, or their parents have to pay a fortune for hotels just to go to a tournament. And I get it. Everybody wants to make money. It's a beautiful thing. I'm a capitalist too, but it is costing us the potential for greatness in this country and World Cups. And we have to rely on getting it perfect and lightning in a bottle instead of really developing skill and long term development that has an array of players coming up. The pay to play model, changing what our motivations are as far as developing our kids. I think that is the biggest challenge that stops players early in the process, so that by the time they're 17, 18, 19 years old, we don't have the best athletes. Sometimes we do get elite athletes, don't get me wrong, but as far as the best of the best consistently, there are other sports, there are other alternatives. This is a fairly expensive sport because of the way it's set up, where other sports, better athletes are choosing to go other directions because of the complications that keep them out of soccer. So, but once players do get there, and once we do get that good player, that quality player, then what are the biggest obstacles? Of course, it'd be wonderful if we all lived in Manchester or, Brighton or some cool place like that where we have, soccer all around us in our neighborhood. It is definitely more difficult. The visibility is difficult. The money is a lot less here in this country, and so as far as soccer goes, for now, I think that's changing. But again, that's probably still 5 or 6 years away before that increases at a level that would be significant.
That goes along really well with what I wanted to get to next, because I mean, I would love to have that conversation about, the structure of soccer. Especially when you talk about the youth, the pay to play model versus what many in the rest of the world are doing, where they develop talent from a very young age, but also older. When we get up to the elite levels, I think that we see. A lot of emphasis on bringing in talent, like you say, they're from other countries, other locales to come in and play top level soccer here. What does that do? How does that affect the, development of the youth going to on that pathway from youth to the professional levels? I'd love to have another conversation with you later on that because I think that's something to really focus on too. But this kind of brings me, what you just said though, kind of brings me to what Georgia Revolution is doing because, and the UPSL on a on a greater level. When we talk about the connection to the community, there are franchise sports like MLS where, it's more commercialized. But what about on the smaller level? How important is it for a league like the UPSL or others league like this at, in the lower tiers? How is it, how important is it for them to connect with the local community and also get involved with the development of the player? Like you say, the important part is developing the player. Wins and losses are important, but if we're going to improve the overall pool of players, how is it, how important is it for the UPSL to stress that now?
Well, I mean, I think it's a great point, and I think it's probably one of the reasons there aren't more players advancing from UPSL or NPSL into those into the professional circuits, because I don't think that there are enough clubs or organizations that put the player first. And I will say that is something that the Revs do. We put the players first. It's one of the things that makes me proudest to work with the Revs, and one of the reasons I was willing to come here and not take other opportunities, even though some people have offered more money to go to those organizations. We are player centric. I'm a soccer purist. That's the one thing in my life that's completely pure. I've never corrupted it by chasing money or anything like that. I've focused 100% on helping players get better, and I want to help the Revs advance as far as the Revs can go too. Which the best way to do that, I believe, is to grow players, to nurture players, to then go on to bigger and better things. And in doing so, the Revs reputation grows, and better players want to be a part of it. More kids want to come into the youth program, and they have a better chance of being developed and nurtured. And it just spirals and grows and grows and grows. So I think that if you take care of those players and focus on developing players, no matter what age they're at, if they're part of your UPSL program, I think you need to do everything you can to help them excel, whether it's providing a positive training environment, taking care of the guys who are dealing with various types of injuries or coming off of injuries, not abusing those players just to milk out a W, but instead keep it in mind that their life is long and they need to be able to have opportunities. And if you burn them out or ruin them this season, they're no good for the next 3 seasons. Now they've missed their window. So really focusing on outcome. That's the biggest thing that I think the Revs do, is we focus no matter what age group a child is at or an adult is at. What is the outcome? What does that player want out of this? Do they want opportunities to be seen at the next level? Or is this a 28-year-old guy that already played D1? Maybe he already played, a year or two professionally somewhere, and now he's married, he's got a full-time job, and he doesn't want to go to Sunday League yet. He wants to have the competition in the fourth tier of American soccer at the highest level possible in as professional an organization as possible. Even though he's no longer getting a paycheck, he still wants to have that feel, that professional feel, and we give that player that. That's the outcome he wants. We're going to give him that.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate the thoughts there and the expressions about that because, with what we've seen here at ASMG with the Georgia Revolution over the past few seasons has been phenomenal, and we see that growth and that connection with the players, and and I'd love to have you back on before the end of the season. We talk a little bit more about the Revolution being in the UPSL, what that means for these particular players. But for now, I want to ask you about your season now. We haven't spoken a little bit about the actual season that the Georgia Revolution has been experiencing right now. Are you where you want to be in this part of the season, not only with the development of the players, but also the level of competition that you're having to play week in and week out? How's that translating to the development of your club as a whole?
Well, so another good question. And no, we're not exactly where we want to be right now with our first team. We've dropped some points that we kind of feel like we're a little bit undisciplined, largely due to some uh, red cards that, like I say, just showed a lack of discipline from some of our regular players. And these are great young men who just made a mental error in a moment. Or maybe we got a little hosing by the ref on a call or two here or there that work against you. And you see, our losses that we've had have all been by 1 point, or both of them have just been by 1 point. We've also dropped a couple of points on ties where we gotten draws instead of victories. And again, we had plenty of opportunities. We just, for whatever reason, the balls just weren't going into the net that day. And it happens. Sometimes the soccer gods are not fair. So we just have to keep working hard. We have to keep working smart. We have to keep the guys focused. What I can tell you is Coach Alec is a fantastic young coach, mastering his craft as a coach, learning to be a CEO of the organization as well as this first team. Our entire coaching staff throughout the organization it's a very collaborative effort. Coach Eric Diaz, another one, is fantastic. Coaches our second team, but we're all the time strategizing and talking and communicating on what can we do better. Even this morning, Coach Alec was putting together things for myself and Coach David and our support staff, Chase, just all things that we want to be doing prior to each training session and during each session to become more efficient and to get the most out of each session that we have each week so that we can get where we want to go. We just have to do everything we can do to make sure we bring that every single time. And whatever we can do as coaches, we need to make sure we're bringing that out of our players. And Coach Alec has challenged each of us coaches to make sure we do that so that we can get the most out of our players and we can achieve at the highest level possible, because that's the goal. And then from that, hopefully win the trophies and, half a dozen guys go on and sign professionally somewhere, from our club. And then we do it again next year. That's the plan.
Yeah, well, despite the drop points that you've had, you're still in great position in the division tables. There, you're in fifth place right now as we finish the eighth match week for you. But some teams above you have dropped points as well. I mean, including Kalanji. And so, and you're right. I mean, we did our little predictions at the beginning of the season, and Kalanji, I did have them chosen as the division champions. Sometimes you get those right, sometimes you get them wrong. But here again, two years in a row, only team at the regular season level to beat them. And that tells you a lot, because if they're one of the top teams and you're beating them, that means you're a top team as well. And so, you're in prime position there. Like I said, other teams have dropped points. So not only is the playoffs almost a certainty there, you still have that shot at a division title. And I'm sure that's a motivating factor for these players, because I know they wanted to get that next level, get to the nationals and so forth.
Of course.
And so is that still a driving force for this, even for this season? I mean, you still are in the hunt for all of that.
Yes, but we're not looking at it that way. Every week now is a semifinal. We're only focused on this match. That's it. The truth of the matter is we look at it from top to bottom in this table. Any given day, any team can beat anybody. We see that.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you'll have a team that might not have a lot of points sneak up and bite you. And so we have to be careful. We have to be focused. We got to do our job.
Well, that's great. That shows a lot of respect for your opponent as well when you give all of your attention to what's in front of you instead of looking past them. And I think a lot of teams make that mistake when they look past. And like you say, in this division, it doesn't matter if you're the 14th or the first place team, you can be beaten. That they don't call it
Exactly
premier
right.
for nothing.
Exactly right.
And so that these are all top tier teams and players. So yeah, you have to take
That's right.
each game very seriously. So well, that's why we at ASMG love to cover you guys. I mean, every team that's here, it's a compelling competition with compelling teams, stories behind the scenes. I love being able to talk to you about your background, about the club itself and what it's doing for the local community. So I look forward to talking to you again right now. But Coach, this is going to be the end of the time we have for this discussion right now. But it's been wonderful, and I look forward to talking to you again, maybe closer to the playoffs and see how you're doing at that time.
Great. And thank you for everything that you guys are doing for growing soccer in this community, our UPSL, ASMG, everybody. I mean, I really appreciate what all that you guys are doing. You're doing a great job. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. It's our pleasure. And you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thanks.